Hey people, Halcyon here. So last night I streamed this game a little and at some point I took on a mission to attack a certain someone to get him to drop a piece of loot I was supposed to retrieve for the contract giver. That person didn't drop the loot, but he left his ship for me to claim, and as such I went there and I activated my capture ship tutorial. So I followed the instructions. I got out of my ship, spacewalked there, activated the scanner and searched for a signal near the entrance of the ship. Signal which you can hear if you pay attention to the audio. But I didn't know that at the time, so I was getting pretty frustrated because I thought the entrance was on the bottom of the ship. So I decided to look around and I found the entrance on the top, and lo and behold, the signal was there. All I had to do was get close to it and the ship would be claimed. And so it has. So I gave it some field repairs and flew it to the closest wharf, landed it, sold it, and I abandoned the mission because selling the ship was more profitable. Later on I decided to make some money by capturing ships, so I went into Paranid territory and started attacking them in hopes that some of them will bail. And they have. So I repeated the instructions set by the tutorial and searched for a signal. And I kept searching and searching and searching for it. And I could not find it at all after searching for 30 minutes. So I got frustrated and closed the stream and I decided to search for solutions on the internet. I eventually landed on this site and I scrolled past most of the comments until I saw this one. And suddenly, light bulb on top of the head time. This is just the exact same method of ship capture you'd use in X Rebirth, except instead of pilots, you use Marines. So I decided to give this method a try to see how it works. Excited at the thought of profits, I landed on the nearest station and hired a couple of people on my fighter ship in the position of Marines. Then it was time to attack some Paranid fighters and try to get them to bail out. I started with this lad flying a Theseus, attacking him and then trying to calm him to abandon his ship. He refused to talk to me, so I ignored him for a while and went for his friend in the Perseus instead. I opened fire, got his hull low, and even though he refused to talk to me for a while, when his ship's structure started falling apart, he came to his senses and accepted my comms request. I kindly asked him to surrender, and so he did, leaving the hull of his Perseus behind for me to claim. But his friend with 2% hull integrity was still a problem, because he was going to attack me. So I kept firing on his shields and the Theseus pilot followed his friend's example and accepted my comms request at the last possible second, and he took the exact same generous offer I gave his buddy a few seconds prior. Now I had 2 hulls in critical condition which I approached, and I decided to use the X Rebirth method, opening the contextual menu and pressing on the claim button. Sure enough, the Marines I hired earlier flew their boarding pods and took control of the badly damaged ships. So I did what any reasonable person can do in this situation and put some books on the top of my spacebar to make sure I repair the ships while I'm AFK. As the repairs were finished, I decided it's time for the last step of my plan. I went aboard my own ship, clicked the Theseus and the Perseus and gave them the order to be sold at the Argon Wharf. But earlier during my stream I saw this comment, so I decided it's time to compare some prices. I also took a look at the price I'm getting if I sell it to the Paranid shipyard and then to the Paranid wharf, and the last one had the highest offer, so that's where I sold my 2 newly acquired ships for nearly 1 million credits. So I guess I found a rather reliable early game money-making method if you practice what is usually known as moral flexibility. So now that story time is over, let us recap the 2 methods of ship capture. The first step in both methods is using your persuasion skill and your special charisma to convince the pilot that the best thing he can do is leave the ship in the position of someone who can take care of it. Then when he is fully on board with your generous offer, he'll leave the ship behind, and from here on out you can use one of the 2 methods. The X3 method is the one imposed by the tutorial where you get out of your current ship and take a spacewalk towards the empty ship. Then you scan it, you look for a signal that may or may not be there, and if the signal is there you just fly close to it and override it. Then you can take control of the ship yourself, fly it to the nearest station, and once aboard you hire a pilot for it and you either sell it or keep the ship for yourself. Alternatively, you fly your new acquisition to the nearest shipyard and sell it from there, without hiring a pilot. But if you do that, you gotta make sure that the pilot of your combat ship can pick you up once you're done. Or you can use the X-Rebirth method, where you hire Marines aboard your combat ship, convince your targets to save their lives and their ships, and you approach the hull within 50 meters, then right-click and select Claim. Your Marine will then fly his boarding pod to the ship and claim it for you. If he isn't a complete moron. Always save your game to prevent any accidents. Save before you attack and save before you claim. Once the ships are claimed, you repair them, and if they have a pilot on board, which they will if you've used the second method, you simply give them the order to be sold at the shipyard or wharf of your choice. Now, enjoy the easy money. Before we part, I have a few more tips to help you in your pirate's life. Reputation is important, so try not to kill members of a faction if they refuse to bail. Try your best to be persuasive, but avoid killing, because that will make you a confirmed enemy of that faction and you won't be able to engage in piracy in their sector without having the entire system's security breathing down your neck. If you've angered a combat pilot and he doesn't want to bail, it's best if you just run from him instead of blowing up his ship. Still, sometimes killing is unavoidable, and the best thing you can do is repent your crimes by taking a few missions for that faction and mending your relations a little. Then you can go back to being an asshole. My personal guideline is to stay above -10 reputation with a faction I'm currently preying on, the Holy Order of the Pontifex, or HOP for short. If you find no missions, you can hang out near stations and shoot down enemy ships marked as criminal to slowly build up a better reputation. If sector security does have a death warrant with your name on it, it's time to run. Leave the sector and stay gone for as long as you can. I haven't tested this to confirm that it's true, but I believe that if you stay gone long enough, they'll revert to being passive towards you. Unless you're an enemy, of course. Lastly, I'll tell you what tools I use for this job so you can form an idea on how to set up your combat ship. I personally use the Quasar fighter ship equipped with the Teladi Mark III shields, combat thrusters and Argon combat engines, all maxed out. As for the weapons, I'm using 2 pulse lasers and 2 bolt repeaters, all of them Mark II, having purchased the bolt repeaters from a Teladi wharf after I got promoted within their trade guild. I'm not entirely sure if this is a Teladi specific weapon or if it's available everywhere. I haven't checked. I'm going to repeat one more thing in case I wasn't clear enough when I was describing my method of ship acquisition. Once you get your target's hull to be critically low, attempt to initiate comms with them every single time. They might refuse you once, twice, 10 times. At some point they might see a reason and accept your comms, at which point you can convince them to surrender. And they will. Anyway, this was all I had for this video. I'm hoping with time I learn enough about this game to make videos such as the medieval survival guide I have for Kingdom Come Deliverance. But until I attain that amount of knowledge, this will have to do. Anyway, thank you for watching and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.